Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24 for your daily continental roundup. I'm Jean-Emile Jameen. Coming up on the show, West African defense chiefs plan for a possible military intervention in Niger if coup leaders don't stand down. We unpack the latest from a crucial day for ECOWAS, both in Niamey and Abuja. Then Ethiopia's government has declared a 6-month state of emergency in the region of Amara after clashes between the country's military and local militia groups. And Congolese athletes have a new spring in their step, with government spending millions on brand new sports facilities in time for the latest Francophone Games. Thanks for joining us here on Eye on Africa. Well, ECOWAS says plans are being made for a possible military intervention in Niger. It follows meetings in Abuja on Friday where West African defense chiefs discussed the way forward should coup leaders not stand down by Sunday. ECOWAS, led by Nigeria, says it will not reveal to coup plotters when and where it will strike, but it will be a decision taken by heads of state. Our correspondent in Nigeria, Sam Olukuya, unpacks the latest developments.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu said he has directed a military build-up and deployment of troops to enforce ECOWAS resolution for a return to civil rule in neighboring Niger Republic. President Tinubu, who is also chairman of ECOWAS, said this in a letter to Nigeria's Senate. The president in the letter sought the support of the Senate for measures the Nigerian government is taking to restore democracy in Niger in line with ECOWAS resolution. President Tinubu said other measures include the cutting off of electricity supply to Niger Republic. Niger relies on Nigeria for most of its electricity supply. The Nigerian president added that all land borders with Niger Republic are being closed. Nigeria will also prevent the operations of commercial and special flights in and out of Niger Republic. Goods will also be stopped from moving in and out of Niger from the Nigerian border. Niger is a landlocked country, and the bulk of its imports and exports rely on Nigeria's seaports. The Customs Service says it is enforcing the presidential directive to close the border with Niger Republic. On its part, the Nigerian military is a bit more cautious. The military said while military action remains an option, it will only be a last choice if other options fail. With the military government in Niger talking tough, it looks like military confrontation cannot be ruled out.
And of course, this all follows the unsuccessful attempts from a separate ECOWAS delegation sent to mediate with junta leaders, which has now returned. Well, all the while, Niger's junta says it is severing military ties with former colonial power France, bringing growing uncertainty for the 1,500 French troops still stationed in Niger, which are there to help fight against Islamist extremism. Several government ambassadors were also fired on Friday, including those from France, the United States, Togo and Nigeria. Clemence Voller brings us the latest.
Faced with mounting international pressure, Niger's military junta is digging its heels in. On Thursday, during a TV broadcast, the group announced it was severing all military accords it had with France since 1977.
Faced with France's careless attitude and reaction to the internal situation in our nation, the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Country decided to terminate the cooperation agreements in the field of security and defense with this state.
Niger has had a key role in Western strategies to combat a jihadist insurgency that has plagued the Sahel since 2012, with France and the United States maintaining around 1,500 and 1,000 troops respectively in the country. On Friday, the French government rejected the junta's move to scrap bilateral military pacts, saying only the West African country's legitimate leadership was entitled to do so.
The legal framework of France's defence agreement with Niger is based on accords that were signed with the legitimate Nigerian authorities. They are the only ones that France and the international community recognise.
Meanwhile, President Bazoum, imprisoned for 9 days in his palace, was able to write this open letter in the Washington Post, calling for international help.
I write this as a hostage. Niger is under attack from a military junta. This coup attempt is a tragedy for Nigerians. Its success would have a devastating consequence far beyond our borders.
The Economic Community of West African States imposed economic sanctions on Niger and issued an ultimatum to the junta to return the ousted President Bazoum to power by Sunday or risk severe consequences, including a possible use of force. A threat that was not well received by the junta nor some of the local population, who warned against foreign intervention. ECOWAS also sent a delegation to Niamey to discuss an amicable resolution. However, left the capital on Thursday after a meeting at the airport with the junta's representatives yielded no breakthrough and without meeting the leader of the group. Over the week, after a complete shutdown of the country, the putschists announced on Friday they were lifting the curfew they imposed during the takeover.
Ethiopia has declared a 6-month state of emergency in the Amhara region after days of clashes between the military and local militia. Amhara has been left unstable since the disarmament of regional forces in April following the war in Tigray. Our correspondent in Addis Ababa, Clotilde Azad, brings us the latest.
This morning, the Council of Ministers declared a state of emergency for the Amhara region. Clashes between the local militia, the Fano, and the Federal Army have intensified last days, and the Deputy Prime Minister, Demeke Mekonnen, described the situation as worrying. The government now have the right to ban all the public gatherings, to arrest without warrants, and to impose curfews in the region. On Wednesday, the Federal Army began driving out the Fano from several areas, and that led to a lot of battles and clashes, notably in the city of Gondar and around the city of Lalibela, where the Fano took control on the airport of Lalibela. The flights are no longer operating to these two towns. We don't know the number of casualties. We know that there's a lot of injuries and that the mobile internet has been shut down in the region. Yesterday, the president of the region declared that the situation was out of control and requested the help of the government because it didn't have the legal means of dealing with it. What's important to know is that the local population is really supporting the regional army. In April, the Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, ordered to integrate all the regional army into the federal army, and this decision has been seen as a betrayal, as a weakening of Amhara region, who will not be able to defend itself in case of attacks from border region as Tigray or Oromia. And what's important to know also is that the Amhara regional army was a key ally during the 2-year war in Tigray. That's why they feel betrayed today.
That's our correspondent, Clotilde Azad. A spate of devastating hunger is on the horizon for Sudan's citizens. NGOs say up to 42% of the population could be facing food insecurity, with the capital Khartoum and the western Darfur region amongst the worst hit. The bleak outlook follows months of ongoing fighting between the country's army and paramilitary RSF forces, which has left Sudan on the brink. Shirley Sitman brings us this report.
The smell brought huge relief to this camp of Sudanese refugees. They fled fighting in their home region, Darfur, but found out upon their arrival that there wasn't enough food for everyone at the camp.
I am using this meal so that people in the camp can have flour. In the first few days, we suffered a lot from the lack of meals because we left them in Darfur. But we took a risk and had them brought here to grind corn for people.
That is just one of the reasons behind the worsening food crisis. Almost 4 million people were forced to abandon their homes when fighting erupted between Sudan's army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The violence destroyed infrastructure. Aid convoys from NGOs have been looted. The violence made it impossible for farmers to plant their crops. The season is lost. Add to that the current drought and inflation. Overall, 20 million people are facing acute food insecurity, 42% of the population. The situation is particularly alarming in combat areas seen here in red. The only way to resolve it is halting the fighting and allowing aid shipments, like this one arriving from China, to reach the population.
And in the DRC, Athletes have long trained without equipment and often out in the open, but government has now splashed several $1 million on state-of-the-art infrastructure just in time for the Francophone Games. Take a look.
The punches fly thick and fast. Gilles Zouani is training as a boxer, and he's working hard to achieve his dream of becoming a star in the ring.
Boxing is hard. It's not a game, it's a fight. You have to be tough in boxing.
Despite the dilapidated training facilities, his determination is unwavering. The ring has been thrown together on the edge of an alleyway, using just a few taut ropes. The boxers weave rhythmically across the concrete floor. Despite the makeshift nature of the ring, this boxing club, which opened 40 years ago, is legendary in the Congolese capital. It has produced several professional boxers. Today, 30 talented youngsters train here every day.
We cobble things together, like the ring which is on the ground. There's talent in this country, not just in boxing, but it's the living and training conditions. If we give them a chance, we'll produce great champions.
For this club, the Francophone Games brings hope of finally having real training facilities. To host the competition in Kinshasa, which had been completely lacking proper facilities, the government built 5 gymnasiums, such as this one, which houses a basketball court. The floor is brand new, and Congolese women basketball players are finally playing on a court that meets international standards. It's a first for the national team.
We used to play on concrete. We couldn't organize international competitions because we didn't have a sports hall. We tried to get the French school to organize the qualifiers, but now we can organize competitions, and we're very, very happy.
The athletes are happy, and the public is delighted. The seats are packed for this basketball game. The new facilities meant that games were opened up to the public for the first time, finally giving sports fans a chance to cheer on their teams in person.
It's terrific. That's the news from around Africa. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.